This is good.
Oh, this is terrible. All right, roll call. Stacy Popovich present. Kelsey Epps present.
Sanford.
Present.
Okay, so we have 3, which is a quorum. Oh God, I feel my inner trucking. Okay, director's disclosures?
No conflicts. Elected directors, are there any additional disclosures you wish to share?
No.
You said no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Approval, disapproval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to
the
approve the
agenda.
agenda.
And a second?
Second.
Second.
So this is the president's welcome and remarks and rules of conduct. I am not the president, nor am I going to be the president, hopefully. So here we are. So we have 3 board members and then 2 that are going to take their oath this evening. Public comment. None? Oh, okay. Number 7, consider vacancy appointment to board of directors.
Maybe I'll see if we can stop you right now.
Oh, shoot. I have to do the pledge. Come on. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liberty, justice for all.
I love virtual meetings. Okay, now number 7. Consider vacancy appointment to board of directors. Huh?
You want me to speak?
Go for it.
All right. So there are 2 people who have come forward looking for a spot on the board of directors. Currently, there are 2 term seats available to fill, one for 2027 and one through 2029. For clarification, if you are appointed to a board seat, you always have to run in the next election, but just for tracking purposes, we assign it to either 2027 or 2029. The names are Troy Stinson and Wayne
Cresmian.
Crismian. If these are acceptable to the board, can I get a motion to appoint Troy and Wayne to the board?
I'll make a motion to appoint
And a
Wayne
second?
Troy to the
I'll
board.
second.
All in favor?
Second.
All right, unanimous decision. Troy and Wayne are now on the board. Congratulations. As a note, you will not be able to vote at this meeting, but we'll administrate the oath of office after this meeting and take care of the paperwork in the next couple days, at which point you'll be able to vote at all future meetings. Next up, Stacy, you want to take consideration of appointments, or?
Yeah.
Cool.
So consider appointment of district officers. I've spoken to Sanford, just so you know, I've spoken to the 4 of us, the 3 others in this room, in the last week to kind of see where everyone was. I unfortunately did not have extra time. Cool, thanks. Oh. Sanford, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Thank you. So were you interested in serving as any of the titled directors? Secretary, treasurer, or president? You don't have
I'd
to.
be willing to step up. No, I understand that, but I'd be willing to step up, president. I mean, if that's a void within the board right now, though unless others feel that they're more qualified.
Okay. I know that you're virtual this month, but is your regular schedule going to be virtual?
No, my expectation is that I can manage my travel schedule as such and be available to be there in person.
Okay.
I will be candid with the board. Just the nature of my travel, though, that's already planned out months in advance. Next, in June, I would also be virtual. if that would be my appointment, I understand, the type of position. But otherwise, I'm clear through the balance of this year, to be available to be there in person.
What are the rules on being virtual?
There are no unique rules on being virtual. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we simply have to have a president, a treasurer, and a secretary, and the treasurer and secretary position can be shared. So as long as that is met, then everything else is good.
What are your thoughts?
So we have to have president, vice president, and then you said secretary and treasurer can be shared?
Correct.
Sorry, you don't have to have a vice president, just a president, a secretary, and treasurer. And secretary, treasurer can be shared.
What are we looking to approve something or?
Yes, so even though, so right now you're secretary, if I wanted to be secretary, I could say, put my name in the hat to be secretary. Even though it's currently yours, and like, we're still sitting here, the titles all get mixed up if the board so chooses to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, generally as a matter of practice, the president and the secretary are the ones to review and sign documents after they've been approved by the board. So whoever decides to be president and secretary, please be good with checking your email. To be fair, Kelsey and Troy did a wonderful job, so I don't have anything
I've been
to say.
better.
No, you have. I'm not being sarcastic there. And then treasurer is generally the one to review financial documents and things of that nature, but it doesn't technically have to be that case.
Sanford, what is your availability during the week to get down to main office? Because I know that, I mean, other than John who used to sit here, but Troy had to go down to the office to sign things. He had to attend meetings and things like that. Like, are you going to have availability for that? Or is?
Yes, I work from the home, so I office out of my home. So, and that's about maybe a mile down the road from the office.
Okay.
So, availability, I'm fairly flexible to be able to attend in-person meetings.
Kelsey, what's the position that you want?
What?
What, is there a position or title that you want?
I would like to keep my position that I currently have.
Hear me out. Also, stay.
So I'm trying to decide. Troy has already voiced that he's going to go as a director. And so it's down to Wayne and Sanford as far as who we can make a motion to nominate for president. And so I'm trying to find out who's, because I know that Troy had to have a lot of flexibility in getting to the admin office, sign checks, attend meetings, handle email complaints, things like that. I need to find who's gonna have the most availability, because both individuals probably will be great at being the president. I just don't wanna see somebody take on more than they can chew and be like, whoa, actually, this means I have to go down to the admin office every single week.
Right.
It's Wayne, right?
Yes, sir.
We haven't met, sorry.
Sorry about that. So my full time, I work for the fire department down in Fountain, but I'm a desk jockey, so I'm the fire marshal, so I'm home and I pretty much make my own schedule, so I'm available if you needed somebody to stop in, I can stop in on my way to, I can stop in on my way home. I kind of make my own schedule, so that's kind of, as long as my stuff down there gets done, they're okay with me arriving, leaving early, and I wind up working a lot of nights and weekends because I'm on call as the investigator, so. But I'm available also, and I'm happy to fill a position if it needs to be filled. I'm also available Fridays pretty much all day. I'm home with my son, so if I need to come down and take care of something, as long as it's signing paperwork, and don't mind if he comes with me, I can sign.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion now.
If you'd like, yeah.
Okay, I would like to make a motion for the president's seat to be handled by Wayne, the secretary seat handled by Kelsey, and the treasurer's seat handled, for me.
And would you like Sanford as the vice president
Yes,
and
please.
Troy as assistant secretary?
Sure.
Then we can meet backup signature, cool.
Troy and secretary just don't go along together.
Assistant secretary.
Assistant. yeah.
Assistant to the
For
secretary.
these next
Love
2 years,
this.
it's fantastic.
I got the corporate seal I'll give you.
So,
You can carry that around.
so Stacy
Wait, so
has
you
made a
get to
motion. Is
mine
there
now?
a
What the
second?
heck? Sorry, I'll second.
Is there a second to Stacy's motion?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And I need to do one point of clarification. Wayne and Troy were appointed to the board. I forgot to ask how the terms wanted to be assigned. It doesn't really matter. Do either of you have a preference to you on 2027? Okay.
Two.
So Wayne,
I've
yeah,
got to
you'll-
run in 27 anyways, correct?
correct. You're on that behalf. Yep. So we'll assign you to the 2029 and Troy to 2027. Perfect. Thank you.
I have something else I'm doing in 2027.
Just like 2025.
All right, consent agenda. So a consent agenda for the two of you is where instead of doing a deep dive into each bullet point, it's one motion to approve all of these, which is Kelsey's favorite because she likes to be here till midnight. And so,
Actually, it's separated. I still win.
so Kelsey, so the consent agenda, if we have a lot to go over for sake of time, we tend to lump the water, wastewater, park and rec reports into the consent agenda. When our schedule allows, the consent agenda only has minutes and financials in it because we read those ahead of time, and unless there's a typo of someone's name, we don't have any edits. So it's one motion for all of the things inside of the consent agenda. The consent agenda isn't always the same.
Yeah.
I did get clarity with John about this. So one of the things, kind of a misconception, at least that was on my side, I might clear it up for everybody else, is if the board would like to discuss something that's on the consent agenda, we do not have to pull it out of consent. We can still have a discussion about it. It can still be approved via consent, but you don't need to adjust the agenda just to have a discussion.
Yeah, essentially it's just a way to kind of move things along a little bit quicker. You might have 20 agreements listed there. Rather than reading the names of all 20 agreements, you can just take a motion to approve everything on it. The board is always feel free to discuss any item on there, or if there's any items the board does not wish to approve this time, it can simply pull it from the consent agenda. It can be discussed or tabled for later.
Kelsey's argument is that if you do the single motion to approve all of them, so these are recorded for our community. So whenever we have our enterprise directors go over each report, even the financials, the community can understand what's going on in their community better, because otherwise they have to request it. So it's not, the information isn't as available to our community. So I feel like I'm not doing my part being on the board if I'm not diving into these reports and helping our community stay up to date with what's going on. That's my sense.
And the reason it's not on the website is in 2025, we had to go ADA compliant, and they charge per sheet. So the only thing put on the website is the agenda,
So
Yeah,
we'll
they're-
talk about it. It's not on the website. They have
Correct.
to request it.
which
It's
it
ridiculous.
used to be. And I didn't know until Kelsey and I were chatting about it last meeting, that it wasn't part of what was put on the website.
Yeah, and just kind of a little bit of background for the new members of the board. There was new website accessibility legislation passed in the last couple of years, or I should say it passed, I believe in 2021, went into effect in the last year. It is really kicking in here about a month. But basically, statute says you have to have certain documents on a Metro District website. And those documents have to be accessible in a specific format. So if someone had a screen reader, let's say, it would read the tables correctly. It would go, in order down the websites and things of that nature. And there's a fair amount of cost, unfortunately, associated with that transparency. It's a wonderful thing, but there is a cost aspect. Right now, current rates are around $7 per page of any document posted to the district's website, and obviously it's the residents that pay that cost. So our recommendation in the board's prior practice, and the current board is free to do this however it sees fit, is to simply remediate, is the name for converting these documents and making them accessible, remediating the minimum documents that are required to be on the website and allowing for any resident that wants these additional documents to simply request them. And these are all public documents, so if a member of the public does wish to have a copy, they can always request it from Carter.
How long would it take for them to get the documents, do you think?
It's a pretty quick turnaround.
Remediation is fast. So Streamline, who does our website, can do the remediation for us. I also have a Common Look PDF editor. So if you guys remember, I got a grant from SIPA to pay for that. So we have software that allows us to do some remediation as well. But I have the ability to just push it through the website. So I can literally upload it today and be like, hey, review this for ADA compliance. It will then tell me what needs to be corrected, and then I can just literally click a button that says remediate, and it will go through and do it through the website, and then as soon as it's done, it will post. But again, it's $7 per page. So when, Stacy and I were joking about the board packet, this is a very light packet at 27 pages.
Yeah,
That's light.
it is.
Some of our packets are 75, 175. That is going to be extremely expensive to do and time consuming for me and my staff, versus we make it accessible, right? We still have to remediate it if someone contacts me as the administrator for the district and says, hey, I need a copy of this.
Oh, just to clarify, only if they ask for it to be
Correct.
remediated. Yeah.
Correct.
If they just ask for a copy, we can.
Send it as
Carter
is.
can-
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But if they ask for it in an accessible format, Carter can make
Right.
that happen as well. Yeah.
I just have a hard time with people, we pay a substantial amount every month. And if they come in to these meetings once a month, or they log in and they wanna see what's happening in their community, the information should be available. It's our job to go through these reports. So unless the meeting is an absurdly long meeting, I will always put my foot down and say they need to be separated. So just anticipate that every time.
How prominent is it for an individual to know where to look that they can request these documents?
So on the website, there's
obvious.
actually request pages with me, because I'm the compliance officer for the district. So my name and my contact information is kind of plastered all over the website. So it's very easy for people to be able to get my information to ask for any kind of copies to any public facing documents, including remediated ones.
Is this just like a core request, or is
No,
this a generic
no, this is
request?
just ADA.
Okay.
So Cora is completely different. There is a whole process for Cora, of course, which I also have the pleasure of doing with John.
They can be a little interchangeable.
Yes.
So when I say a document request, in my mind, I tend to treat that as a core request. Turnaround should be within 72 hours. Because ideally, in a good world, we want to treat everyone the same as to the extent we can. Sanford, to answer your question as well, in the footer of the district's website, no matter which page you are on, there is a link called District Transparency. And that'll take you to basically the district's address, budget information, the Cora information, everything you would need to request a document.
Great, thanks for confirming that.
So I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Oh, Carter, do we have one item on here? Sorry, we need to discuss. Wasn't
Our
that
item won't go in consent, but we can either do it now or we can do it after.
I wasn't sure if it was bundled with the financial.
I mean, technically, it's a financial matter, so I'll just come out and tell you guys. So we have, as you guys know, we service Paintbrush Hills for sewer only. We get closing notifications from title companies saying, hey, we need a status letter. We got one for an address that we have not been billing because we were never notified by the builder that they actually built the property. And that was in 2019. So you guys have two options. Option A, because it is a Metro District bill, they are still obligated to pay it. So I can draft a bill, right? No late fees, none of that, from 2019 to whatever the closing date is, and then they'll have to pay that at closing, or the board can take action to not bill that. But just know, if we do that and I put 0 on the status letter to the title company, we cannot go back and try to get that money from the future property owner.
How much
So
money
those
are
are
we talking here?
How much is that?
$50 a
it's
month for
roughly
6 years?
$50 a month for 6 years.
And they haven't been paying a bill at all.
No, because we were
never
never
got
notified.
$4.
We were never notified.
How do we not catch on to that?
Because it's impossible for us to
Pretty
know.
common in our district.
Is it?
$3,600?
It's not a usage, it's just.
And they're selling a house?
Yes. So they close on June 6th.
$3,600.
So we have a little bit of time, if you guys want to kind of think about it, but
Just a,
those are the two options.
Yeah.
yeah, just
Oh,
a,
I
I don't
can't
know. How do you not?
Yeah.
How do you not know?
just
As a
a,
homeowner, how do you not?
We would be,
We'd be foolish not to ask for the $3,600.
I would bill them
we'd be setting
with the
precedent.
caveat to the
Correct.
title company that this was on paintbrush for not notifying us that the house was occupied, or, and let them duke it out over there.
Well, it's on Paintbrush as the Metro District over there. It's on the original title company that they didn't follow their job, which this title company did to get a status letter from us. It's also on the realtor. They should know that whoever the service providers for those areas. So it's a lot of deficiencies in a lot of areas, but Troy said it earlier, this unfortunately
It's a
happens a
package thing.
lot. Normally, we catch it because what will happen is, let's say Richmond America Homes, right? They build houses over there. Maybe we don't get it when they built it, but it'll go and close, right? 2 months, 3 months later, we'll then get a notification. We will then back bill the developer for those months at closing, and then we'll have all the new information. So this happens actually quite often, especially in Paintbrush. Not so much in Falcon Highlands anymore because they're not really building, but if they were building, we would potentially have that same problem because it's not district proper. That is the kind of the issue.
So I think the board direction is to bill them the $3,600,
What
roughly,
Yeah.
whatever that
proceed as
is,
normal.
and proceed as normal.
Yeah, and again, that's our right, right? As a metro district, our bill doesn't run with a person, it runs with a property. So even if this was not the original owner, they are the current property owner, they will have to pay the bill. That's by statute.
And they can track it down, going back and, hey, you didn't tell us.
Right,
about
if
this,
they
and
want,
wanna take it
you
to
know,
the title company
that-
that they signed with.
Yes,
and
if the
everything.
title company wants to figure out there is one other buyer or owner in between 2019 and now, and they want to track that person down and get them to pay a portion, that's on them, but that's not for us to deal with.
Nope.
So I will direct my staff to create that bill, and then we will get that over to title for that closing.
Okay. So I need a motion for,
Don't you need a motion? Because the board's direction was business as usual. No specific action taken.
don't I need a motion for to approve the consent agenda?
Oh, I apologize. I thought it was for this
Oh,
round.
okay.
You were good.
I was like,
Sorry,
man,
Tracy.
I'm pretty sure Troy
You're
said that last
good.
month.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
One second.
Motion by Stanford, second by Kelsey. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion's approved. Motion carries. There we go. Thank goodness I only have to do this one meeting. It's only because you had a 7-hour meeting today.
It was still going.
All right, Park and Rec.
All right, any questions on the report?
Can you give us a little
Yeah.
overview?
She's gonna want an overview.
Sure.
And I'd like to.
I don't know if he specified.
Sure.
She-
Revenues, year-to-date, we're looking really solid, just as a basic. Comparison to this year, we're at 103,442. Year-to-date, that's based on our registration numbers. Last year, 84,655 at the same time. So we're seeing a lot of that is growth, not only between room rentals, but also leagues and classes and whatnot that we're doing, camps. We did some extra camps over spring break that we didn't do last year, so all those little things add up. We are well on our way. We've got mowing. It was a little tough go. We have some issues on irrigation. Everything was flagged. We got new irrigation company this year that's doing it, and they're doing a fantastic job inspecting each and every head, directing them, making sure we don't have any waste, and that they're hitting the areas that they're supposed to hit. And then also that they're programmed the way they're being programmed, so they're not running too long and all that.
Who are we
So
using?
who are we using? It's called Colorado Escapes. They're a commercial outfit. We've been using them. They replaced the bridge that got washed out last year in the park. They did the pool expansion here. They did the concrete around Belkin, and now they're going to do the Horseshoe Park renovation. So they're a pretty good outfit that's been doing good solid work for us. So. And so all that's mowing's almost done. Irrigation, we probably got another solid week on that of getting that under control. Mainly on Meridian Ranch Boulevard. That's where a lot of the issues we're at. We expect that. Every time we fire them up, from plowing and snow blowing and all that stuff, it hits those heads. Those heads are right next to the sidewalk. So this is to be expected with what we're doing. And then the elephant in the room, my letter of resignation. Before we get into that, I truly do want to thank you. If John was here, I want to be on record thanking him as well. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. The new ones coming on, I know you're coming on to a great team here. It's been good to deal with. The support that I felt in Parks and Recreation has been outstanding, and we've done some pretty great things, and that's with your guys' blessing and direction and all that. So the community is in good hands. Our team that's left there is dynamite. I inherited them. We've had some new ones that came on board, but the core, and they've been great, and they are in a good spot to keep that thing running. And I will be in contact with Carter. You guys, anything you need, feel free to. I'm willing to help out as a volunteer in whatever aspect. If that's a hiring process, questions on any of that, I would. Feel free to ask, and I will be there to help.
Have we started the hiring process, and are we doing it like how we did Marcus's? And,
Yeah, that's a
and yours?
good question, and I was gonna kind of address that. So Marcus and I have had an opportunity to kind of talk through that process, and we'll follow the same thing that we did with when we hired Marcus. So there'll be a first round interview with operational staff first. So we'll kind of weed through resumes and people. I would highly recommend that we keep Marcus on that hiring committee to help vet those people out that make it to the final round, which will be with whoever the hiring committee on the board will be. We do have the updated job description that Marcus and I have worked on, so that's ready to post. So I will get that posted. We'll use a lot of different avenues this time. So last time I didn't have the knowledge that Marcus has in terms of like CPRA and some of those other organizations that are specific to the rec world. So we'll be able to post in a lot broader arena, which I think will help get us more higher caliber candidates than just using Indeed, right? But we will use Indeed as well, just to help that search process. And then again, from there, it's just first round interview, internal operation director staff will do that. And then we'll bring that forward to you guys as a board. And then that interview can either be two of you, one of you, however way you guys want to decide that. You can make a decision at that interview, or you can then bring it forward to the whole board. That person or persons, if you're trying to narrow down, can come to a board meeting and present, and you can do that executive session. So there's a couple different options on how you guys would like to be involved, not involved in that process, but ultimately it's got to be your decision since this person does report to you. As far as kind of interim status, what Marcus and I have discussed is that we named Stephanie the interim director of Parks and Recreation. However, we have a slight kind of caveat to that is we would have her report to me instead of directly to the board, and I would then funnel everything to you guys. That just keeps operations from a day-to-day perspective still running the way that they currently do, and gives you guys a direct connection through me with everything that might be done in Parks and Recreation. That's a recommendation, not something that you guys have to do, but that's just our recommendation for the time being.
That would also be my recommendation, because I remember there not being in Carter's spot in the interim, which meant we were down at main office, or we're at the rec center working. So, if Stephanie can report to Carter, that would be my opinion. That would be great.
Kurt?
Yeah.
And Marcus, you might have some insight on this. What matters might Carter need to get clarification from the board on, I guess, between now and the next board meeting? And the reason I'm asking is if the board might want to assign someone to kind of act in that immediate question role in case Carter needed direction on him in the meantime.
The only thing, it would be normal stuff that, none of us could be able to handle. Let's say there's something that's above our procurement policy of $160,000, I would have to bring that forward to the board to get approval for. Any other contract matters obviously would have to be reviewed and approved by the board. So I can't necessarily foresee anything outside of those that would require immediate board attention.
Okay.
But now that we, once Wayne has been fully vetted out with the court, and I can then use him as kind of that direct contact as the board president, that's an option. Or to your point, if you guys want to assign somebody else, we can do that as well. But I don't foresee anything going on. Stephanie has a good grasp of everything that Marcus is kind of leaving behind. Marcus has also been keeping me informed of those projects and contracts. So I don't foresee any problems arising, but I think we have a process in place already to handle that. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah,
Are there any outstanding contracts that she would have to?
No, we're good on contracts right now. Everything, we've done a good job in the department of getting rid of any long term. So like anything we're doing landscaping is per item. So we're not doing contract work on that. The contract's already been signed for Horseshoe Park. We're gonna have a group meeting, Carter and Stephanie and Will next week with that vendor to kind of go over what that planning looks like and establish who the paint point of contact moving forward for that project will be. And then the point of sale system that's out for RFP right now, depending on what prices they come in, I'm not anticipating it to be in that realm of that, but then Carter certainly can, with his experience doing the Tyler changeover, take care of any of that paperwork and stuff. But that's a pretty straightforward process laid out on BidNet through RFP when it closes. That's the beauty of using that system. Beyond that, no contracts.
And any HR matters run through me anyways. So this is, kind of an easy interim process. So if there's any personnel problems, whatnot, it would have to go through me. Normally it would be go to Marcus, and Marcus would come to me. So we're just kind of skipping that middleman, and I'm just there.
So she won't have to do anything outside of her normal duties day to day. I just want to make sure that we're not getting into any type of salary issues or anything like that where she's stepping in doing the director's job outside of her job description.
I think there might be some things, but nothing to what you're saying, right? Not to that extent, but there may be, at the end of the day, that staff is going to report to her, and then she will report to me. And
Which they already report to her and Craig.
Correct. So
And then them to you.
it's just right now.
Pulling me out of that.
Yes. So it's not a huge change from an org chart perspective. It's almost like, she's sliding in that interim, and I'm sliding in to kind of help and augment.
I just want to make sure we don't get hit over the head with, well, I've been the interim director,
Right.
and I should have been compensated for that.
Will will be rolling up. That is new, so there would be a new aspect, because currently Will rolls up to me in that parks area. So she right now is focused on the recreation side of things. The house.
So we shouldn't be anticipating any kind of incentive pay for this interim period?
I think that's something that the board should consider. we can discuss that. I can put together some figures for the board to review. But I do think you should consider that because she will be taking on additional responsibilities during this interim time. Hopefully it's not for a long period of time, right? Hopefully we're
A
able
lot
to
faster
get,
than our previous hirings, hopefully.
hopefully,
So
yes.
we don't
Yes.
lose a lot of good
Yeah.
candidates.
And Marcus and I have talked about that. I mean, anytime there's a leadership change, especially at the top, you expect to see some attrition, but we are hoping that because the team is so well built today and there's already good leadership involved, that we won't have that impact. And then also with this hiring process, keeping Marcus involved in that will help to avoid that attrition that a lot of times you do see.
And as far as like candidates hiring, this is, in my world, the best time to hire. Because the summer transition is the good time, especially if you're any candidates from outside the region. Gives them a time to move here and establish
You know,
before.
obviously you're bailing on us.
I know, this is the good
It's
time.
a great time to leave, huh?
It is a
You
good
don't say.
I mean, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty or
I
anything.
understand. No, I understand, yeah.
Yeah, when he called me, I was like,
Yeah.
okay. He's like, do you have anything for me? And I was like, no. No, I do not.
I'm just disappointed I had to read it in the board packet.
I know.
I know,
Same.
I mean, I have my phone on me 24/7.
This
and
was
I
dated
get a
on the
phone call
19th.
today.
Come on.
yeah, I didn't know how to handle that one. I thought you were going away.
They gave you a plaque. You thought you were done.
I didn't want, and I knew if I contacted more, because there's only a couple of you that would institute board. I was trying to tread a very fine line. So I started with Stacy because I assumed Stacy was going to be president. So
Wait, Stacey, when did you know?
Last week?
yeah, when I wrote the letter.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'll message me about me losing my seat, but you won't message me about something.
I just figured Marcus would deliver your good news.
I know.
So,
So I would like to personally say thank you very much for coming in. We went from chaos and disarray with one Park and Rec enterprise director over there to one that ran like he was on meth but with no direction.
That's
And
fair.
to a very well-rounded person to run that operation over there. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate your candor with us, and your trust in us, for our feedback. We're not Park and Rec experts, so the trust that you've had in our conversations and stuff on direction over there, I do appreciate that very much so. And I wish you all the best for you and your family going forward, whatever you're doing, whatever you decide to do.
Well, thank you.
If you ever need anything, my phone is always on. Yeah, just BS about kids in college.
Yeah, I'm up there. I don't like it. I like it that he's going to college. I don't like that my life
It
is about
sucks,
to change.
but
Aw.
I wish you the very best.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. So with that cloud subject, now we get to the fun stuff. I've got Matrix here tonight.
Okay?
The master plan is complete. They're gonna give a brief talk about that. It's a very good timing because this gives, obviously it's not like set in stone, but it gives a good guideline where we're at with the community feedback, the stuff that was done. So it gives some blueprint about what we can do moving forward.
get to see where the fishing pond's going, don't we?
Well, I was just gonna
I've
answer
seen the
hockey
draft
thing
and that's
is
not in it.
So, just so
See, this one's
Sanford,
sideways already.
just so Sanford and Wayne have some background on it. So we hired a third party. Is he there? Sanford? Carter?
He must have dropped. He's back.
There you are.
I'll minimize it. All right, you should be
And
good.
as they're finding that, as after their presentation, then we'll get that and we'll send that out. Everyone will have a copy, work with Carter, we'll get it on the website, do all the stuff, so it's very open and transparent to the residents.
Excellent.
We will pay the $7 per page for that.
Why do you look at me?
In
and say
color.
that?
In color.
In color.
In color. One time, we got packets with no color. They were black and white.
Was this the pictures? Yeah.
Yes.
This was great.
And Carter has never lived it down. And that was probably 3 years ago.
Probably.
Didn't you try to get rid of the printer like couple
Yeah,
months
he's
ago?
like, oh, we don't
we
need
don't
it.
need the printer.
We don't.
Yeah.
Listen, I did
Keep
the
trying.
cost analysis. I could get you guys all iPads for cheaper than what I spend on copier expense and paper and toner.
And I
It was
typically,
the waste of that.
That was
for just us.
denied.
and I typically don't even get a packet. So I only got one probably because it's 27 pages.
Pretty much.
Yep.
I don't
So-
do any paper good, I print everything.
I do too.
So
I got-
for
I got
Sanford
mine.
and Wayne, we put this out to the district residents in, when did we put this out to the residents?
It was approved in May of the May board meeting last year. So
Okay.
it's been a full year process of getting to this point.
And so we put it out to the residents as to what they'd like to see, in Park and Rec. Like, what do we have currently on our trails that we don't have, or what do we have that's missing from our parks? Things like that. So Matrix came through and did a thorough inventory of all of the things that we do have. And then we put it out to the residents as to what we would like to have.
Is it like a response?
How many responses did we get?
I'd have to look at it again. We got, if I remember correctly, the open house, we had a dozen or so. It was a bad weather event, so
Yes.
then we did a survey. The survey went out to every single resident. We had, I wanna say, is it 5,000?
No, it was closer to 500.
Was it 500?
Oh, 500 responses, which isn't bad, honestly. I've been involved in surveys that were much lower return surveys, and there were a lot of great comments, so.
And then also we did engagement in the recreation center with the storyboards, that we could have interaction with stickers. So we have, that is a lot of users coming in that obviously use our facilities and program, but that gives us good input. But the surveys were, a lot of them, they had even, well, you'll go through the numbers. I don't wanna steal this
We
thunder.
don't touch too much on the numbers in this presentation because we don't want to keep you guys here longer than you need to be. All the responses will be in the appendices, so as we're talking about how you put this on your website, we'll keep your pages to a minimum, but those responses are part of the appendix. So if you guys want to look at that information, that's all there. So thank you guys very much for having us here today. My name is Joshua Eldridge. I'm the Director of Ecological Services for Matrix. And with me is Jeff Lasker. We have been really excited to be a part of this process. And thank you, Carter. I'm gonna have to remember to ask you to move it forward. This has been a really fun project for us. And you can go ahead and go on. So we're gonna try and keep this quick so you guys aren't here till midnight. Looks like you still got quite a few things on your agenda, but we will cover the project background. Marcus has already alluded to some of it, but we'll talk about our field collection efforts because this was not just public engagement, this is also an asset management plan. So how well are your facilities performing and at what rate are they looking at needing repair? Because as a financial aspect of these plans, you need to know, is our pool going to break and how much is that going to cost and how soon? Right, so that was another aspect of this plan that's slightly different than a traditional Parks and Rec master plan. Through the community engagement process, we did identify some strengths and weaknesses through which the district is meeting community expectations. And then we utilize that to create some renderings and recommendations and how we can help meet some of those obligations along with cost estimates. So the tactical asset management plan is the detailed findings of that asset management plan. Additionally, we have also provided you guys with what's called landscape typology, which is a open space natural area assessment as well. And so Will now has access to all the locations where it's performing on a scale of like poor, fair, good, excellent. So the stuff that's doing good, keep it good. The stuff that's doing bad, let's target that, right? So you can start to actually narrow down even your maintenance budgets as well. So we really try to be comprehensive and not just understanding the systems that you guys operate, both the built as well as the natural, but then what does your community think about what's happening? I'm gonna try and make sure I don't just like wave my hands in front of your camera there. I get a little animated sometimes. So, all right, let's move forward here, Carter. So project background.
You guys should hopefully know a lot of this, but to establish that guide to help the Parks and Recreation Department and Woodman Hills as a community with future decision making for park and open space assets. Right? Just touched on that. And with Marcus's departure, I really do want you guys to utilize this plan and matrix. We're right down the street. Right? We're based here in Colorado Springs. We have another big office in Denver. We're multidisciplinary, right? So I'm an ecologist, Jeff's an engineer. We have landscape architects, planners. We have a lot of services in-house that you guys can lean on because we have a lot of in-depth knowledge now about your systems. And I've served many clients where leadership changes over and we end up with the most institutional knowledge for you as a client. So just think about that if you find yourself in a pinch, because we would love to continue to help Woodman Hills advance through this process. So some of our objectives were to, again, assess those facilities, translate the community vision into a planning tool, identify and prioritize those opportunities and improvements, and then promote best practices for improvements, because there are some things that could be done better based on our experience in other locations. Good, Carter? So our study area, the extent of Woodman Hills, right? So 3,000 housing units, almost 10,000 residents. You guys know what you guys have on your responsibilities. I do want to highlight though, you mentioned the other metro district that you guys provide sewer for. Bentgrass is another district that seems within your boundaries. We got a lot of comments from them complaining about their facilities and some promises that were made there. So I don't know how often you guys interact, but that is something that came out and you touch on it in the report itself, but not necessarily in this recommendation. But so you are getting a lot of people utilizing like this playground and other services from that community because they do feel shorted. So I'll just put that out there.
All right, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we did exactly for this field collection efforts. So the first thing we did is we actually assembled multiple teams to go through and take photos and rate the condition of every single asset that you guys had within the study area. That included all your parks, trails, swings, jungle gyms, the facilities themselves, all 2 main structures, and then the additional 13 auxiliary structures. And we also looked at your landscape topology. There's a simple map here that just kind of shows the condition of those different landscapes. And again, in the full report, we'll have all the detailed assessments, and we have the pictures too as well on our web path.
So let me jump in here real quick, because this is a system that we developed that identifies, so each of those different polygons, right, that you can see here in your map. This is our function map. So yellow is fair, the light green is good, you got some dark green, excellent. Unfortunately, you don't have too many red or poor function areas. So those are delineated based on habitat type. So are they forested, are they grasslands, are they closer to water, further away from water? So that's kind of how it's structured. And then we have a scoring system that goes in and identifies what is doing well, what's doing not so well. And so right now you have an average score of 70, which is at the bottom end of good. And so the reason why I highlight that is because you have an opportunity to push some of those polygons higher and prevent them from falling into that fair or even poor category. Because this is something that you can put out on your website as a way to highlight the fact that you guys have some really nice open spaces, but you are at risk of falling into lower function. Higher function is lower maintenance. All right, that's how you should be thinking about this. So if you can continue to push those into the greens, then in the long run, that should keep your maintenance costs lower as well. And so this is a system that we have used to map more than 10,000 acres throughout the Colorado Front Range. So this is used in Erie, Denver, Adams County, Arvada, and all along the Highline Canal, if you guys are familiar with the Highline Canal up around Denver there. So this is a system that has a lot of precedent and can really help, and we want to work with Will to make sure he understands the asset that he actually has at his fingertips. Because he can sit at his desk and direct people exactly where they need to go to take care of the issues that we know are at play.
Yeah.
Not even going, sorry.
Yeah, so here's a little bit more about, we have a couple of pictures there, just some examples of the items and assets that we were exactly looking at. So as stated before, beginning in late 2024, we deployed the different field data collection teams, went through, collected all the information and then put it into different asset categories. You can see it listed out there: barriers, furniture, playground equipment, points of interest, rec fields, fixtures, trails, hardscape, landscape. And then we assigned them a good, fair, poor rating, put those into buckets and percentages, and then ultimately came up with an average condition index there on a scale of 1 to 10. And you can kind of see how those lay out on each one of the asset categories. Can we go next?
Can I ask how you got your standards for those numbers?
Yeah, so we looked at the what's called the EUL, the estimated remaining life of the asset itself, and then we looked at its overall condition, so actually observing it itself. Is there deteriorated paint? Is there broken, or damage to it? What is the use and the function of it? And so we combined that along with what we estimated to be its remaining life, and then that comes to the condition index.
And I'm glad that you asked a question in the middle. Please don't save your questions for the end. If there's something we talk about, please, let's engage in the conversation. This is something that we've lived for almost the last year, so we'd love to talk about it. So if you guys have questions, please ask.
So it's not against like a standard necessarily. It's just like literally the current state of whatever it is. And this is based on I guess what I'm trying to ask is if someone surveyed this, let's say bench, and then someone else had come and surveyed the bench, is there like a standard to where it's going to be the same score?
It's a great question, and I think there is some subjectivity in terms of how some person would evaluate its current state and condition, because there's so many different types of amenities and ages. I think it'd be really hard to say that every bench has 4 legs and some slats. Maybe it's got a back, right? So those basics I think are fairly universal, but when you start getting into more complex systems like HVACs and pumps and things like that, I think it's a little bit harder. Jeff can certainly expand upon that more, but I think a lot of it is best professional judgment.
Yeah, and I would touch too, it's not so much that we're saying this bench is a 6.4 and nobody else is gonna rate it a 6.6 or 6.7. Those numbers can be a little bit variable and there is some subjectivity there, but nobody's gonna come in and say that this bench is deteriorated or completely damaged or something like that. So there's some tolerance, but we're within a reasonable percentage that would be considered an industry standard.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and then we do want to highlight the tool that we generated as well. This is an ArcGIS web-based mapping tool that we put together that has every single one of the assets that we evaluated. You'll have full access to this. It's a really neat tool because you can zoom in there, click on that. It'll show you what the asset is, the image of it, what it was rated, the condition, when the picture was taken, all the information that we collected in the field. That's all there as a repository.
And there's multiple layers on that map too, so you can turn on and off different images, move around, and that is available to you guys today.
Yep.
Is that map editable by us, or is it your proprietary?
It's a good question.
So
I don't remember
if the
if
park
it is.
staff wanted to go out and update something, we had damage
We
to
currently
something.
hold the admin privileges to it, but we're more than willing to give Carter or Marcus, whoever is wanting
We
that.
do have someone on staff that's familiar with GIS.
Yeah.
One of our inspectors.
And then we
Two
can
of
talk
ours,
about
actually.
benches.
Two of
We
us.
just add 3 benches or something. Didn't we add a bunch of benches recently? 4? Yeah, so
They-
those
they-
probably aren't on there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be a living document.
Yeah, this is a snapshot of the late 2024 field assessments that we did. But obviously, one of our recommendations is to continue and evaluate and perfect and.
But it is user friendly once you do get access to it. I mean, you're just clicking on a cell and changing the number. And the same is true for that landscape typology process as well. We have the scoring rubric, so a 1, 2, 3, 4 is described on a separate page that talks about what constitutes that value. Because we don't want to create a system that you guys have to rehire us to use, right? I want to make sure you guys have the tools necessary to execute your maintenance to the best of your ability. We will happily come back and update it, but we don't need to be the ones, right? We want your staff feeling comfortable updating that. And on the landscape scale, it doesn't change that rapidly, right? I mean, we're talking 3 to 5 years that would be the recommended update for the landscape stuff. And we have been able to track changes over a 5-year period using landscape typology. Usually through deferred maintenance, people are like, oh, we can't get there. And we've seen changes in landscape function, so. But you'll have access to that too. That's one of the layers in this.
Okay.
All right, Carter.
Right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the asset management findings. This was really the part of the project that I primarily focused on. Go to that first
Excuse me,
slide there.
before you go forward, how would you like to collect the information? When we have questions regarding the report, what's the best way to, do you want us to all agree, consolidate our questions? Do you want them to be asked as we come across them? What's going to be the most efficient way from your perspective?
From this, within this presentation, or from the full report when you get a chance to review that?
Let's just say both.
For this presentation, feel free to interject and happy to field your questions as you have them. For any comments on the full report, I think if you can compile them and provide them to Stephanie, she can get them back to us. I'd rather provide you with like a comment tracking table as a one complete package instead of piecemeal. It'll be a lot easier for us that way.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay. So as stated before, this is just a brief summary. So the in-depth findings of the asset management plan will be in the report, specifically in the appendix, of exactly how we came to these conclusions. Just know that we assessed a total of 684 total assets within the inventory. We prepared what is called a tactical asset management plan that's just specific to the Parks and Recs facilities. And then we used a framework, if anybody's familiar with the ISO 5500 standard. This is the industry standard for using asset management on these kind of principles. And we applied what's called a state of good repair mindset, which means how do you maintain the assets that you currently have in the state that they currently are. And so, as you can see here, the total table we found was over the next 10 years, we estimated a projected budget. We used a linear model for that at a 6.5% interest rate inflation. That's obviously going to be adjustable depending on year by year. And then we looked at each one of the assets, how much it's going to cost to replace it when it fails, and then what are your total operations and maintenance needs across that 10 years. And this table represents that difference. If you look at the very bottom line, we're showing about a $1.2 million somewhat deficit in there compared to your estimated project budget. And then the next slide has a graph tab too, which is a little bit better of a visual effect on this too as well. So you can see that, and it's broken out by your asset category. So again, that barrier, furniture, hardscape shows you the differences. And then the line is the projected budget.
So there might be some assets that you can push farther, but you're at risk. Right? So if you don't replace everything on the timelines that we anticipate, like you might get a few more years out of that bench, right? But the longer it goes, the more likely it is to fail, and so there's that balance and where you want to weigh that.
And to Joshua's point, we'll be giving you all the model itself, and that has your ability to do scenario analysis. So that's one of the key implementations that we put into the Excel file that's there, which it gives you the ability to change interest rates, change number of assets, change how you want to be funded in any given year. That all can be adjusted, and you can kind of see that and adjust it as your budgets move forward. Okay.
So community engagement. Marcus already hit on some of the aspects of the things that we did, but really we wanted to try to inform the community on what's going on, consult with them and involve them in the process and really collaborate around. The collaboration was probably more at the Parks and Rec department level as opposed to the actual public, but there was some engagement in terms of talking about what facilities and amenities they would like to see. And so, we utilized the website, presented some of our prior colleagues have presented to the board here, and then we did participate in the fall festival last fall with a little pop-up trying to let people know that this is happening. We had the open house, which unfortunately was a little disrupted with one of the winter storm events that I think obviously affected attendance at that night, but then even the follow-up. But really the survey, I think, was really, really useful. And we utilized a system that we developed called ID Places, where people could actually drop specific locations where they had a comment and response to. So moving on. So overall, it's 50-50. People there's some people that are really satisfied with what's going on, and there are quite a few people that had complaints about some of the facilities and fees that they pay relative to the value that they get out of it. And the fact that you have increasing usage of your programs, I think, speaks to the interest. And now hopefully this plan can help you meet some of those expectations. So the rec centers, obviously Rec Center East, the trail system, and then I guess we have up there the pool, the trail system, and the workout room at Rec Center East were the 3 most frequently used amenities at Woodman Hills. The report goes into the top 10 as well as the kind of bottom 10, the places that people aren't really paying attention to. The surveys really emphasize people love water sports. More parks and access to playgrounds is something, again, bent grass kind of like factored in a little bit there, but we excluded when they explicitly stated they live in bent grass in terms of weighting those recommendations. But more expansive and connected trails and then some upgraded recreational facilities were the main things that we heard. So as we look at as we dive into our recommendations.
Just a point of clarification for you guys. So the reason why the big grass area gets excluded is that because it's a metropolitan district, they have a service plan. Their service plan calls out specifically that they will be responsible for parks, trails, open space. And then that, and, you know, Josh made a comment that, you know, they essentially made some promises. They were going to do some of that stuff. They haven't fulfilled those promises. So there's no obligation by Woodman Hills to then step in for another metro district and build something not on our property, because the district owns 0 property in the bent grass area. Yes, they're included, but we own nothing. So if they were to want us to build something, there would have to be some sort of agreement with Bent Grass Metropolitan District about what that would look like. And Marcus has reached out to their general manager, and that conversation kind of really went nowhere.
It went exactly what we just said. Do not make any promises.
Right.
Yeah. So on camera, we are not making any promises.
That's right. That's right. And the full master plan states that, right? That there is no obligation. Big grass is its own thing, but we did hear that community is frustrated because they were promised something that is not materialized. So when we look at Horseshoe Park, this is obviously one of the bigger bigger areas that Woodman Hills operates and manages. The track and field complex obviously being a part of this. Those cost estimates do not include any efforts at the track and field. We're just kind of depicting where that area is. And so you can see some new trail alignments in here, upgraded playground, pavilion, and basketball court, and expanded parking. And so, you know, one thing to keep in mind, all of these are in 2025 dollars. So depending on how far out any of these improvements would go, obviously that affects your costs. We also do not provide any full plans. These are rendered concepts, right? So if you choose to go down any of these paths, cost estimates will vary based off of the specific elements that are actually built. But we used a wide variety of the cost estimates that we have access to, both through RS Means, which is, you know, a standard that's used across the industry, as well as our own built projects over the last couple of years. And the appendix, these are rolled up costs. We have line by line items for all of our assumptions around these cost estimates if you guys want to get dirty in the numbers. So here we just have a couple pictures of what the, you know, possible playground and pavilion, basketball court could look like with some mature landscaping. We did make some assumptions around irrigation. I know you guys don't have a ton in some of these open spaces, so that may be an area where we're a little off on cost because tap fees and things like that can vary.
That part where they're putting this concept is that portion.
Good, Carter.
That would be quite an improvement from Horse Dukes now.
Yes. And similar for the community park, we mostly focus just on the playground, and furnishings, improved trees, and access there. So this is a little lower cost. not a heavy lift here, but again, just trying to create some separation and add a few more amenities around like age groups. Advance there, Carter. So you can see how they more complex on one side, some swing sets. Try to pull it out, create some buffering between the homes and the playground there. So right out the back here, looking at improving some diversity around water activities. Splash pad was one of the things that we thought could be a nice benefit and addition here. And so this is actually a relatively low cost, I think, in terms of the amount of support we heard for water engagement, right? And so this is a standard kind of product that is kind of like off the shelf, right? And so this one I think has it could attract a very high number of users, especially at that toddler, lower age user group. So that's what we have here. Additionally, looking at just really trying to maximize use of the facilities here, and potentially an informal trail that goes around the pond, just as another kind of like walking amenity. There's certainly some aspects too of the sand volleyball court. Like we did run a cost estimate on like if we want to make that another pickleball court or something like that. So we have cost estimates there, but we didn't really we heard more for indoor pickleball than we did for outdoor pickleball. So, but I think that the sand volleyball court there's a potential there to even modify that use. There was like one or two people that highlighted like volleyball was something they wanted. So Rec Center East, I think, is the biggest opportunity. Currently, it's 2 buildings. Oh, sorry, if you can go back. Animated that, because we have a lot going on in here. So we had the 2 buildings, and we're recommending an expansion that would bring those buildings together. You can get about 5,000 square feet out of that addition. It doesn't change the configuration of the basketball courts there, but we did hear a lot about improved weight rooms and workout facilities in that space. And so that's a spot where we thought we could try to bring all that together and kind of avoid that having to leave the building to go to another building. Yes, sir.
So just a quick question on that, because my full-time job, I'm a code nerd. So with us adding that where it's actually now becoming a singular building, will that addition kick us into a different occupancy category where we would have to update one or both of the other buildings to now make a single occupancy, whether that be sprinklers, alarms, egress pathways, things of that nature? And was that incorporated into the potential costs?
It was not. We are not architects. It's a great question. And that's one of the beauties of being a part of the master planning process. It's a great point, and it's something that we did. Marcus actually brought up that question as we were going through that. And so our cost estimate may end up being a little low because of things like that. But the beauty of master plans is you kind of get to take everybody's ideas and put them together and make them public. And then it's up to the people that you choose to design those buildings that get to figure it out. I like to say on master plannings, it's the art of being specifically vague, right? It's like you put it on paper well enough that people are like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then you hand it to somebody to build it and they're like, what the heck? What do they mean? How am I supposed to do that? I've been handed more than one of those. We try not to do that to you, but not being architects ourselves, we do have to leave some question marks in full transparency. There is an additional meeting room, about another 1,000 square feet, I think, off of the kind of northwest there, if I remember my orientation correctly, northeast. New playground, the pavilion stays, but we have more play fields and then expanded parking.
So to kind of go on that one, that's where the pool patio currently is. So creating more space there, thought being two spaces that could be separated or open into one big space. So a space like this for board meetings, could it be at RCE centralized?
They could also open up for venues, right? So you could have parties, you could have weddings, there's a lot of opportunities. You know, Marcus and I went and did a tour of some different recreation facilities up in the Denver metro area, a month ago, 2 months ago, something like that. And almost every single one of those facilities has something like that, and they're used all the time. So not only is it something the community can definitely get behind, but also from my perspective, revenue, right? That's easy revenue. It's not something that we have to staff like a pool, right? It's super easy for us to staff and make money off of.
Alright, speaking of money, you can hit that. So this is where we kind of fell around the building expansion. We used RS means and some other built-in assumptions to get to that building expansion. So I probably did not include the updates to be within compliance of the fire code, because I think we just did a single expansion as part of that model. So obviously the big ticket item, anytime you're building up, it gets more expensive. All right, I think we got one more. Yeah, just some renderings here. You can kind of cruise through these a little bit. So that's the building expansion there with the meeting rooms, the playground.
And if you see on this, we did give some direction to have a separate entrance so that RCE could be closed and the meeting rooms could be accessed for board meetings or other district events that we want to run, where the recreation center can be closed, but that be open.
I think I got two more renderings there. Yeah, so there you can see the bluegrass field that's not big enough to be programmed for like soccer or anything like that, but it's definitely big enough for kids to play pickup soccer, ultimate frisbee, whatever out there.
Is that turf?
It would be turf.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you could be whatever, right? At this point, it's some manicured lawn, species to be determined.
Yeah, or fake.
Or fake, potentially, right? Depending on the cost benefit of that approach. That gets pretty hot, so like.
Yeah.
One more, I think. Okay, so you guys have this big, beautiful 31-acre property acquisition. That is not really included as part of this because that acquisition was finalized during the planning process. And with the size and scale of that property, we feel it would be best to go through a specific site-specific master plan, including public engagement. An ice rink came up in multiple conversations around a desire for that facility, and as well as recreational opportunities with that. You know, if you're talking about revenue potential, right? You could just have open skates, you could have leagues. There's all kinds of things like that. But that's also a very, very high very high dollar item. And so, is that truly a desire, or was that like 10 people that have to go somewhere to do their own hockey and they don't want to do that anymore, right? That's one of the challenges with public engagement, is the voices that get heard are the people that show up, right? And so having a specific public engagement process for that property, I think would add true value to what ultimately comes of that property. Because some of the facilities that Marcus and Carter toured, there's some really awesome examples out there, but they also are very expensive. I mean, you're talking 30, 50 million, right? And so if you're going to start trying to budget for that sort of stuff, you better know that you're building a thing that people are going to use. And so we did not have that process built into this scope of work. And so that's our recommendation with that. And those are some of the ideas that we heard that we were not able to incorporate into the current recommendations. So, two more slides. So Trails and Rec, there are other lower cost amenities that we did not do cost estimates for, more benches, the trail connections, which we highlighted in Horseshoe, some wayfinding and signage. That was something that people wanted to make sure they knew where to go and how to get around a little bit. Fitness stations are something that you're seeing more and more on trails. And there are some really great opportunities for wildlife. Your systems from a natural perspective, the drainage way that runs through there, that is a natural corridor. There's a lot of overlapping wildlife habitat. So if you can go on there, Carter, one of the things that we would recommend is just being mindful of how those, as you look at making advancements in design, management, and maintenance, we provided some recommendations on how to avoid human-wildlife conflict. And as we continue to expand into these natural areas, those wildlife have to go somewhere, right? They'll go away during construction, but some of them come back, right? So there are some that are called urban adapted. And so you're thinking raccoons, skunks, foxes, coyotes, these guys that start to kind of be pests. And so we really try to include some guidance around how we can help minimize creating habitat or just being mindful about what you're doing around your open space areas to try to minimize those to the extent practical. So with this, we've really, I think, provided Woodman Hills with a 10-year plan that really builds on the natural and built assets that you have. You have a lot of data at your fingertips right now. And so it's going to take some time to dive in there and digest it. And we're available to help you guys understand what that means. With Marcus's departure, that puts a little more weight on Stephanie. She's probably not going to have time to figure out what the heck all is in here. She's been involved from the beginning, so I'm sure she has some in her mind, but there's going to be a lot on her shoulders. But we're available to help Will, help Stephanie, help you guys understand if you want that guidance and support. There's a lot here. I can tell you that the best made plans can be laid to waste by poor execution, and we don't like it when our plans just sit on a shelf somewhere. So if there's something we can do to see this kicked into action, we'd love to help you do that. We did engage with the public to, I think, really get meaningful feedback. We'll share all those comments with you, and then hopefully we were able to provide you guys with a visualization of what some of these amenities can be and wrap your head around how much it might actually cost. And it's just been a real pleasure being able to serve your community, and welcome any final questions you guys might have for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Thank you, Marcus.
Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Carter. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
All right, water report. Sorry, I forgot I was.
Just waiting. It's my turn.
Sorry, I forgot I was running in.
Is there anything on the water report would you like me to explain?
Kelsey would like a highlight summary, please.
Okay.
Did we hit any fire hydrants?
What is? I wonder. So that map almost looked like they put fire hydrants on there because they would technically be an asset, right?
They are. They are, but it falls in a different category.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay.
And in the insurance, we have insurance on there. There was a question about all that they presented. I'll just take a minute that what the liabilities of the total assets for Park and Rec and what that would cost the community for all these improvements. In case of an injury would happen, Splash Park would be the one to be interested in because we'd like to see how that is designed. If the water's being recycled, how is that being treated and things like that, so that you don't have a problem with, oh, I got sick on water because XYZ of things have happened, like urine, feces, and things like that would come off the body.
Gotcha.
Just things like that. Just set that aside.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what we got going on, we'll go through this process here. We are started the construction process for the 1 million gallon tank. Right now, we're waiting for a couple of approvals from the county, which is namely something hung up with the fire department about the excess capacity for fire flow. It's one of the things that came up there for the design criteria for the regional building. And then also the right of way. The right of way has not been fenced off in 2 separate properties. It's been fenced off as one property. It has been like that for 30 years. We made the pitch to the regional building and to the county in particular that right of way, once that road goes through and that property gets developed, that those fences would have to come down and go back into its proper alignment as far as the property is concerned. So they're good with that. Just as the reason why we pitched that is because we want to protect our assets there to make sure that nobody would go and camp up there, the trash in there, pose a security risk to our water infrastructure. And then there was just one other additional item about permeable surface versus non-permeable for, when you put a structure up there, you gotta have, it's kind of a holding pond of some sort to capture water and then let it go in a matter of 72-hour drain into the ground. So when you take something away that could do that, you got to put something in its place. So those items are being worked out with hopefully in the next week or two that they can go for a full construction, which means the full excavation of the site, removing the soils that are poor and bringing back structural soils so that we can have a good foundation for the new tank to sit on and get the best of our assets for years to come. As far as our survey from the last board meeting, we talked about there was 2 significant deficiencies. One of them was because of the design change on the current tank that's up there, the 1 million gallon tank. Because of the regulation, it has changed. Regardless, the tank has been there for 30 years. And once you can't grandfather a particular item off of an asset and say, well, it's always been that way, we never had a problem, still had to do the upgrade. So that has been selected by McGuire Iron or McGuire Water. They're a compliance company that works strictly in the tank compliant realm of the world with the CD and PHE. They've been very successful. And so once I filled the response letter, because I'm still on hook for the 120 days, I got 102 days left, which they let me have an extension. So to get that rectified, so that's in its process. That's just, I have to wait to see what the tariffs would be for the metals to be available, the lead times, the same thing that we had dealt with during COVID. So that's where we're at with that. As far as the other tank was designed, the regulation had changed 2 months after the plans had been approved by the state. That was the reclaim tank. It allowed me to get away just putting a seal in there, and they were happy with that. So that's the end for that part of it, unless you have questions about that. Okay. We have our new well that's running now. It's next door here. We have a well site now. It used to be a treatment facility. So it's a well site. We got one of our wells back and we're using it. It's working pretty good. And then we are continuing, as always, with our filter projects. We finished up the plant from the last meeting there. We did some final touches of certain items in there, but we do continue with our maintenance of our pump stations, our fire hydrants, and other normal daily duties. The additional duty, because we went back to a 6-month compliance period because we put in the new thyroid plant up there. To give a little bit of background, when you put in a new item that changes the treatment or any condition that would affect the water quality in one way or another, and that there's other additional requirements the state may spring upon you, so they made us go from collecting 20 lead and copper samples. We had to go and find additional 40 sample sites to accommodate for the 60 that they're requiring for us. And once they see that the quality of the water, if it's improved, they have to do this again one more time in the next half of the year, or second quarter of the year here. Once they're satisfied with that, hopefully I can go back to a 3-year schedule, as I was once before the plant was officially put online. So just bear in mind that that's just added cost to the district for collecting additional samples. As far as fall is concerned, we continue on with just the normal daily operation of that system there. Their facility is just a pit with literally a pit with a chlorination system, but the new plant that they're building right now is also, I don't know if Stanford dropped off. Stanford, are you still there?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I've got I got it up on my laptop, so I'm reading the report.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're just doing normal things that we would do in our district, but just a limited basis there as needed. With their new facility, they are about 80% complete. They were supposed to be starting the startup here in the next month, which is gonna probably put us out to July, August timeframe, because lead times for filter medias that they still have problems getting. Surprises when they dig up the yard up there and find mismatched pipe sizes. According to the plan says it's this, and out in the field it's actually it's a lot different than what the plans show. Crossing over other utilities, along with other metro districts, water lines that's in place up there, besides getting to ours. So we're still on task of making the connection to their plant into our West Tank plant, or tank line. So we've got a June 4th, I'll give you that update in the June's board meeting. But and then the pipeline that they're doing, they're about 28% right now of 87% of the phase going up there to the one well field that they're striving to get to. They run into some problems with the county with the right of ways, and people upset about trees being scarred up, and so they still working through those. They're trying to keep a good cohesive good neighbor policy with these individuals per se, but they're working those out, and it's still proceeding as planned. So they're on the December deadline. And then we have waiting for a resolution settlement letter from CMD, which we haven't seen yet.
We actually just got it.
You just got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Waiting for a full brief from our litigators on the settlement agreement, but David said at first glance, everything has just been memorialized from the binding term sheet. So as of right now, don't foresee any issues getting that settlement in front of you guys probably next meeting for signature and ratification.
Okay, and then thank you for that. And then we still have some building going on in our district. You know, we got Falcon Fields they're on hold right now for some things they have to clear up. Circuit K's on hold because they can't do some demolition of the old station there on a few things that just wasn't anticipated. The Goodwill building is going up there next to the King Supers. Yep, there's a Goodwill building going up there. And also some shell buildings there in the Bentgrass Commercial. And there's some rumors about what's going in there and that. I just don't know which ones are going in there just yet. Until then, they get those approved.
Nobody does. I'm sure it'll be fast food.
Probably. So just to spell anything what's being said out there in the media that officially that we just don't know, they don't tell us. Hey, we need a commitment letter. And that's when we know. Falcon Highlands, we also, that's another water district that we take care of on a contract basis. And currently they finished the one commercial building over there, but then there's no other building report to report on for that. And as far as our water quality is concerned, we've done all our back tees that come out good, as well as the results of those. We have one groundwater call that was on Stephenville about a week and a half ago. So that area had been flushed. Apparently someone must have gotten on a fire hydrant and really hit it hard in that area. It's taken some water from us. But there's no other groundwater calls there, so currently, and hoping that stays that way. Any other questions with my report?
Thank you.
Very thorough.
Go ahead.
I want to ask if you have any questions.
You can try.
You might as well just summarize for Kelsey.
We have a community who do not have access to this.
So we met with the new regional president for Deer Horton. We have no idea where they stand on this thing, but we did give them a firm deadline of August 1st to make a decision. They said they would know by then, so they're running into obviously water issues and their underdrain issues. So it kind of sucks that they may be backing out. However, Waterbury, one or another wants to move forward. So the second Granby makes a decision and they can release some documents, they want to take over, putting in the force mains and the lift station so they can proceed. So one or another, it sounds like that lift station's gonna get built. We just don't know who's gonna do it yet. The storage facility, we just reviewed the plans yesterday. We gotta make one quick change because one of the doors is supposed to be 16 foot wide to come for the vac truck, give us more clearance. And they had all 14-foot doors in, so we just gotta make a modification. Then that should be ready to submit to the county. So it's not gonna meet the deadline I wanted, but we're at least gonna still break ground yet.
This year?
Yeah. Probably early fall, and just,
Nice.
that's the hope.
It's only been 2 years.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
I'm sorry. Poking the bear, poking the bear.
So, working with, kind of reviewing some stuff about the current lift station, how fall is gonna play into it. We had a meeting with Reed and Ranch, kind of discussing some of the stuff, a bunch of issues between the two districts, some old AGAs. I think it was a good conversation. We learned a lot about some things we've been operating, we didn't know why, so I think it was a pretty good talk with them. Talk about this later. I made a backup claim policy, just so we have something in our records. So we're Kimley Horn for the plant upgrade, so we have some data submission to get to them. Trying to pull some stuff off the SCADA right now, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
Also engaged with them, based on the last meeting. I think there's a little confusion on the board's part about the separation between the DPR ASR project and the plant upgrade. So they'll be talking in executive session about that. Some more information. New inspector started on May 12th. He picking up the ball and rolling good. I know our current inspector loves having a second person. He's not running so ragged now. So that's been a huge help. I had someone hired for collections. She backed out of it for personal reasons. So I did interview 2 people today, and going into the budget year, you guys approved a collections. Obviously, we had a collections position open and also a new operator. 2 people I interviewed the last 2 days. Tuesday, I'm gonna make a job offer to both of them. Hopefully they both take it. But the one definitely gonna take it. So now both those positions are filled. The one's gonna be strictly collections, and one's gonna be a crossover between collections and operations. So they'll get our staff up to 6. So spread out the on-call schedule, and talking to Kurt about this because we need the CDL aspect of it. So I usually do a 6-month probation. They're gonna get a 3-month, and if we're comfortable at that point, we'll get them in a CDL training, just so we can get on the field and get going on catching up on some of the work that we haven't been able to because we've been short on operators. So hopefully the next board meeting, we're fully staffed and up and running.
Did we lose operators?
No, did we?
No, we just added 2 operators to the budget and we
Yeah.
just
We added
filled
one,
them.
so
Right.
Jordan left on the collection side.
Yeah, so
we've
we
been
did
short-
lose
We've been
one.
shorthanded
Yeah,
on
for a while.
collections for
Yeah.
Okay.
over a year.
On the CDL thing, just so you guys know, we're also drafting a CDL policy. So it's a requirement that if we, as a district, pay for it, you then have to stay employed with us for 3 years after the completion of that CDL. If you don't make that 3 years, you then have to reimburse the district for the cost of that CDL program.
How much does the CEO?
It's a lot.
10
$10,000
grand.
to
10 to
$12,000.
12,000.
You hold them accountable to that?
Yeah.
We do the
It's in
same
contract,
thing.
yeah.
Because I feel like every place I've ever worked at, they always say that, but I've never gotten noticed that
They
I
don't have our
pay
attorney.
for
We do it in the fire service. When the fire service puts like paramedics through school, they owe,
Well, I know they
The
they
district-
threaten it. I've signed countless things, but no one's ever come up to me and be like, "We supply you this training," and
Don't come work for us then.
They will
We'll
for the
quit.
fire
they
department.
will for the fire department
will go
because
after
they'll
it.
take it out of your final check
About 20-25 grand to send somebody to paramedic school.
and they'll take it out of your last check.
so yes, we can.
The answer is yes, you can, and it winds up being more of an optics issue. whether you want to sue a prior employee for reimbursement, if it really comes to a push come to shove type of
So
scenario.
you're saying we can, but we
You
We
can.
will.
You can. That is the technical answer. Is you
can and will are two different things.
You absolutely can. It'll be up to the board on whether you choose to enforce it should the
Why did you sit
situation
there?
come up.
We even do it with
She's so
lifeguards.
mad about
Yeah.
the seat.
Yes, I am.
We also do it with
Just for a
lifeguards.
couple $100 lifeguard class, and we held them accountable.
Yeah, it definitely is easier with smaller amounts. You can just
That's
withhold
what
it
I'm
from the
worried
final
about.
check.
That's a lot of money.
Well, that's the reason
Well,
why.
that 3 years, a
Yeah.
good cost benefit analysis does, so you have to put a lot of money up front, but I guarantee that employee is gonna be here for 3 years, because technically, once they get that CDL, they have options out there now that could potentially pay more than what we can pay them, if they're wherever they are at the certification scale. So at least it guarantees us 3 years of work, or,
How many employees still need their CDL?
so on my side, we have currently 3 out of the 5.
But not all 5 need it.
No, so the actual operators don't, so the ones that actually have it, it's carryover from how we used to be structured, when wastewater operations and collections were basically the same thing, to rotate around, so we all had our CDLs for the back truck, but now that we've gotten big enough where the operations crew, they never leave the plant, that's just their job, they don't need the CDL, just the collections people.
You said-
But again, because of the new regulation, how expensive it is, none of us are letting that CDL lapse, so.
So you said 3?
Hmm?
3 people?
3 currently have a CDL,
Oh,
but
currently have.
right.
But these 2 employees
Are
that
you
you're
counting Cody?
hopefully.
Because Cody has one.
Cody, yeah,
So Cody
I
has
just
one,
said
and on
my
my
side.
team.
I don't care about your team.
That's fine.
You guys ain't gonna touch that back truck.
Looking for a total number. So how many then? 2? The 2 you're hiring?
Yep, so we'll have 5 with CDLs.
So
And the other good thing is it's got coverage, so for some reason, so like myself and the water supervisor might be on vacation, something happens, you're not scrambling to try and find somebody, so again, the big thing, to even to JD's point, we could grab one of them guys as a CDL, they can just at least drive the truck, our guys can operate it. So, all our guys know how to operate it, they just, only a couple of us can drive it at this point, so.
So on my team, I have 4 kids on mine, got CDLs.
And then do we maintain their med cards?
Yes.
Their license or just their med cards?
Both.
Both, yep, we pay for everything on it.
So we pay for all the annual physicals and anything that comes up from the DOT.
Well, I should back up, we pay everything for the ones that it's mandatory for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll do 1 year or 2 year medical card. They have to be anywhere from $100 to $150, depending on where you go, or agreements that you have worked out with.
We have agreements with Quest Diagnostics.
Yeah, so it's probably like $50 or something.
It's cheaper. Yeah, it's not bad.
Alright.
Are you gonna bring them to the next board meeting? You hire them? How come we don't do that? I would love to meet new people working for the district.
Do you want
And the community would want to meet them too.
Well, we'd have to pay them
You guys are
overtime.
volunteers, they're
Yeah.
employees.
Right.
You have to pay them if you want.
So we,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can come and meet
You can come to their plant and meet them.
Make it come and then just like leave, just in the
Or-
the first,
Or just
you know.
tag along with any one of them for the day and meet them in the morning.
I could probably do that.
And say good morning.
It's in the morning, yeah.
Be happy to take you on a tour of our plants on Waterside. Wally
I'd
might be
love to
happy
go
to take
again.
you on the tour.
I haven't gone in a while. I would like to go
I'll
again.
say, yeah, it's been a while.
There's only one person up there that's ever been to the wastewater plant, so,
Is it just me?
yeah.
I've been to the wastewater
It's so
center.
much fun. It was great.
I've been there.
Wow.
It smells delightful.
It
Smells
doesn't
like
taste.
money.
It's not
When were you there?
when I first sat.
Like
How much has changed
7
since
years
then?
ago?
5.
Oh,
It wasn't 7 years
Okay, 5
ago,
years
was
ago?
it?
Yeah, it feels like 7 years ago.
Fine. 7 years ago, I went to the wastewater treatment plant. Thanks for remembering.
I don't, that would have been
Probably
under
wasn't
somebody
there.
else's watch.
Right.
I should
It
probably
was.
just go to all the
Yes.
facilities.
But you were in the plant.
Because I haven't been to the rec center since like I
Well,
cycled
back
on the
then, I didn't
house
care
3
about the
years
board
ago.
members. I didn't
Come
need to
next
know.
week. I can give you a personal tour.
Oh no, I actually remember leaving
I can
the
come next
wastewater
week,
treatment plant going,
Let me know.
oh my gosh, Wally loves what he does.
He does.
I can
You
tour
go
you.
in and there's like that little lab section and everything. I'm like, oh man, this guy loves his job.
That's your job since you're in that seat.
The assistant to the secretary?
What he said.
So, all right.
Okay, so,
The
um,
binding contract.
since finally hooking up since 2019, we finally have an actual agreement, extraterritorial agreement with Falcon Meadow Campground. So we did basically on a lease purchase, gave them their 1.6, I think it was, acre feet of water for return rights to keep the campground going. Adjusted the rates on that and plus bumped them up to the rates they should have been paying for their sewage. So everything's rated on that now. Good to get someone else's mistake out of the way. Anyway. Yeah, the Bryan property, the gas pipeline people came out and surveyed it this last week, so they've come and gone already.
And we got that last month where it's not cutting through the property, it's going around the perimeter.
Skirting the edge of it.
So it doesn't actually affect our brine field at
Nope.
all.
If they decide to do it,
That's
that's the part we don't know.
Okay.
That's why they had to get your guys' approval to do the survey.
How long will it be before they approve that?
It could be years.
Oh.
I mean, this thing's been going on
This thing is-
forever.
Yeah, given the length of it, yeah, we're just one small segment they need to get through, so.
Got it.
That's about it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. All right. Consider approval of amended and restated banking resolution.
So this is simply a resolution that informs the accounts who is allowed to sign on behalf of the district. We update this when board members change. So I would just ask that this be approved subject to final legal revision so I can add the appointees today to the document.
Okay. So I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Kelsey makes a motion.
Okay.
Sanford seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And then I'll work with you guys once I get that signed resolution on signature cards for the bank accounts. It'll take me some time because we have quite a few accounts, but I'll make sure to get all that in front of you.
Okay. Consider adding the wastewater backup claim policy to the rules and regulation.
So this one came about, talking with the GM from Cherokee, contacted me and asked if we had a policy on this. What happens if there's a sewage back up in the home, whether it's our fault or not. They ran into a couple issues in the last couple months and realized they don't have a policy. They called around and realized a lot of districts don't. So I just drafted this one up. There's somewhat modeled after what CSU does, but at least gives us a direction that if somebody does have a backup, there's a policy in place on, you know, how we file a claim, how we find whether it's our fault, their fault. Just something to protect the district.
And has Leo reviewed this?
Sorry, say one more time.
Have you reviewed this?
Wally did send it over to me. I apologize. I have not had a chance to review this. I was going to ask Wally. I know Carter and I are unfortunately on the phone about once a week making revisions to the rules and regs. It's still an ongoing process. Would you prefer this, do you think, in terms of if there was an issue to be a standalone document, or is this something you'd want to standalone? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would just ask that if the board decides to approve subject to final legal review, and I'll go and give it a once-over before it gets out for signature.
But we carry plenty of liability insurance. So if something catastrophic were to happen and it was our fault, you know, insurance will kick in. We've had other scenarios, like if you remember, the sewer under drain, not sewer, under drain issue.
Yep.
And it backed up in somebody's house. So then we, along with their homeowners insurance, they filed a homeowners insurance claim first. And then whatever the homeowners insurance didn't cover, our policy comes in and covers the rest. So it would be a very similar setup in this kind of scenario too, if it is indeed our fault.
So that's what this is?
No, I'm just giving you an
Okay.
example that we've dealt with this in other areas of the district assets, but I do agree with Wally that this needs to be in place. We need to have this separate policy because it's liability. Right now, if you were to have something happen, God forbid today, and this wasn't in effect, the district could be 100% liable even if it wasn't our fault, because we don't even have a policy in place. So we need to have a policy in place to determine liability. So that's really what this does for the district, and then just talks about like if we're at fault, here's what's gonna happen.
So if we're at fault, you're still gonna, have the resident file a homeowner's policy claim first?
If it's our fault, no.
No.
No,
Only if they're,
correct.
okay,
Only if it is.
just wanted to make
no.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's still our job to determine whether it's our fault or not, you know, for probably their plumber or whatever. But if it was our fault, then this document kicks in so they know how to proceed forward.
Okay,
What generally happens too is in cases where, with a high dollar value, if you're not quite sure who's at fault, everyone informs their insurance company and they can fight over it. Because ultimately, you know, we don't make the decision whether
Sanford?
insurance pays out or not.
Yes.
They would make
Thank
that
you.
decision. Yeah. No,
Keep
insurance will
doing
make
that.
that decision.
the ding,
That was me.
got it. Does anyone have any questions?
So we need to make a motion to approve after legal review?
Perfect.
Yes. Kelsey made a motion.
Thank you.
Sanford second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Attorney's report.
One of my favorite.
All right, Kelsey, do your work. What we got?
How come he doesn't have to do a summary?
He just has to
The
do a
rest of them
summary.
have to do a summary.
I was inhaling to say, would love a summary.
We would love the highlights.
I answered Carter's phone calls 6 times this month. We talked about all the matters.
Per month, that's it?
Only six?
I'm pretty sure it's way more than that.
6 per week.
I was gonna say it was per outlet.
Sometimes it's like 6 times per day.
It could be.
Oh my god.
$1,000.
Yes.
Carter's the heart of all this, you know. It's got to be involved. So I'll kind of go through the highlight items here. Amended stated rules and regulations. These have been in the red line and in the works for quite some time. It seems almost once a week we come up with another item in the rule and regs that just needs to be adjusted. And it just hasn't quite gotten to the point where at least I felt comfortable bringing it back for kind of a ratification or final approval by the board. So, but we are getting there. I'm hopeful by the next board meeting that I can have all the red lines in front of you, and it's a lot of them. But it is a complicated document. It was all of the district's original bylaws, all of the district's original rules and regs, trimmed down from processes put in place in 1995 and revamped for what they should be today.
So keep in mind, this is the second iteration, right?
Yeah.
We did one when Heather was general counsel before John, and that was a 4-month internal review process. That was very painful. And so this is the second iteration. It's just that, like what John is saying, is the rules and regs are very important for us and for the people that do business with us. So we want to get it right. We also don't want to hamstring us, right, and put in language that is not true, not valid. So it just requires a fine-tooth comb, and unfortunately, this document is massive.
So, will we be getting that before the next board meeting or the morning of?
It's up to him. As soon as he gets it,
I would give you
send
at
it
least a
directly
week
to
on
the
this.
board.
Thanks.
Yeah.
His packet's coming a week early.
To be fair, sometimes Carter's packet's late because of me, so I
Ah!
shouldn't say
Yes!
that.
Yes!
It is my documents on occasion.
Yes!
So it also just for the,
Been redeemed.
He said occasionally.
Occasionally.
And in
Here's a
those
former-
instances, you should just let us know that it's delayed by John.
We'll deduct it from our invoice.
Withhold is travel fee.
So one piece I'll just add, just for the new board members as well. So rules and regulations are essentially all of the rules that the district plays by for district infrastructure and district property. These aren't rules to control other people's property. There's nothing in there that says, hey, you need to paint your house blue, things like that. People's private property remains their own. These rules are specifically, where does the wastewater line begin and end in front of your house? What are the district's procedures for shutting off your water if you don't pay your bill? kind of all of those little things. How does a new account get started? So all of the water, wastewater, parks and rec guidelines, processes for the district itself, that's what's bundled into the rules and regs. But hopefully here, give me 3 more weeks on it, and hopefully that'll be ready for you guys. The other big one, the amended and restated service plan. So Carter sent over what I believe to be the final exhibits last week for the amended and restated service plan. We are in the process of plugging those in and revising the letter of intent. And I'm hopeful we'll have submission here right around the end of this month, if not the very beginning of June. That's what we're looking. I don't think there's anything else we need at this time. For the new board members, special districts are governed by something called their service plan, which is approved by the county. Essentially all the rules of the district are in there. It says what services the district can provide, whether they can enforce covenants or not, can they impose fees, do they have tax authority. This district is a little bit simpler in the sense that it's basically water, wastewater, and parks and rec. There are no covenants that can be enforced, and trying to think here, fees are fine, no taxing authority. So even if this district wanted to, it could not impose property taxes within the boundaries of the district. We are amending that service plan currently because there was a cap placed on the, not technically debt, but the authorization to obtain what are called enterprise bonds and to drive enterprise revenue. And we need to increase that cap for some of the infrastructure work that needs to be done. That is because you imagine the cap was originally put in place in 1995. It was increased slightly in the early 2000s. Things are quite a bit more expensive today than they were back then, and that is the primary reason for this adjustment. We're not changing any of the services that the district is providing or trying to get tax authorization or anything like that. That's the quick background. So hopefully, 7 to 10 business days on that, and hopefully we'll have a submission.
And it's for regulatory improvements, not just district improvements. These are being required.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's mostly it. Were there any others on here? Several of these are placeholders. Waterbury's still in progress. We're kind of waiting on updates and responses from a lot of different entities on these.
How'd the election go?
Election went all right.
Okay. How about recreation facility access? I didn't see, of course,
Oh,
the answer to that.
Yeah, what's that about?
so do you want to give the quick background on it? And I'll.
I guess.
Come on, we won't be here next time, so.
Need clarification on what state, county, local, on use of locker rooms. There is a person in the district that identifies differently than their biological sex that has been using that locker room which they identify with. It was brought up to our attention this weekend, trying to get a hold, what guidelines do we have to do, what board direction do we want for that to implement that, and so on.
Perfect. And I apologize, Marcus. I'll take a look. I responded to your email, but if you didn't get it, I'll see where it might have gone.
Okay.
But the short answer is there's simply nothing the district can do on this in terms of public facility access, as far as I can find. If somebody an individual is free to use the locker room at which they identify with. If there are problems, I was thinking how to phrase this, if there are problems in the sense that anyone using any locker room might be as a problem, disruptive activities, vandalism, things of that nature, then action can be taken in the normal sense. Other than that, as far as I can find, there's no action the board can take to require someone use the facility, which would be, let's say, assigned to their gender at birth, for example. Yeah.
How's collecting all the water, I guess the unpaid water bills that you had sent?
Do we have any have you started receiving those
So
from the county?
the county has 2 different deadlines for when people have to pay their property taxes by. So, the first one has been done, so some of that money has been collected by the county. The second one is, I think, coming up soon, so we should get the remainder of that money, so it's in progress, so to speak.
And for the new board members, water and sanitation districts kind of have a collection superpower. If water and sanitation bills are unpaid at the end of the year, the district can take those accounts and hand them over to the county, and the county simply adds them to the individual's property taxes to be collected the following year.
Like a levy.
Exactly right. So what ends up happening is these are turned over at the end of last year. Usually, April, if someone splits their tax payments, there's 2 months to do it. But as those get paid, people pay the taxes to the county, then the district gets those fees reimbursed to them. So this would be the time, kind of, I guess, end of April, May, probably see the first bulk of those start coming in, would be my guess. What else you got?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Nothing exciting.
cool.
All right, so we need to go into executive session for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation under CRS 24-6-4024E, namely district engineering services, with a 5-minute break before starting. May I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any items unfinished from previous meetings?
I literally thought of one and then I forgot it. It'll come to me at some point.
Any board follow-up on older items?
Troy always has one.
Any other business?
Perfectly
Denied.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion. To adjourn.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye. Why do I have two
Aye.
pens?
Aye.
See you, Sanford.
Motion carries.
Logan's probably not here.